Well, it was a long week, but we finally come to Friday, the final review for Halloween week and the big return of the movie reviews. We ended up on a high note, and that's Curse of Chucky. Now, yesterday I said that Chucky's was one of my heroes as far as horror movies, but that may have been pushing it a little too far. I was always a Jason guy myself. He is one of my favorites though in the genre, even though looking back, not the scariest guy in the world. To give you some background on the character, essentially a serial killer is cornered in a toy store. Thankfully, he knows some voodoo and he manages to transfer his soul into the doll, and now he's just looking for someone that he can transfer his soul into so he can have a human body again. Now this sounds like a really silly avenue to go in for a horror movie, but this is the 6th movie, so they must be doing something right. So we go right into Curse of Chucky, a remake, I guess, of the of the series, and it works. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed this. Once again, going on as far as scaring me, as far as it being a horror movie, still not quite, but at the same time, I can't say that I wasn't enjoying myself. I can't say there wasn't a fun time. The story really works, and just to restart here, as far as the story for this movie is essentially one of the characters is all right, we're back. One of the characters by the name of Nika, who is paralyzed from the waist down and lives with her mother, receives a mysterious package one day and opens it, and there's Chucky. She puts it down, and long story short, her mom dies, or falls off, I should be more specific, she falls off the 2nd floor of the house and dies, which leads to some of her family coming over to console her. And that's where the longest day of this woman's life proceeds. Now I should point out that Nika is played by a character called Fiona Dourif. Now if that name sounds a little familiar, that also happens to be the last name of the voice actor for Chucky, Brad Dourif. Yes, as I mentioned yesterday, this is his daughter, and I have to say she does a really good job. She does a fantastic job of not only playing her character and playing against Chucky, but also being someone to root for. I also have to applaud this movie for making the character handicapped, which you don't normally see in these types of movies. Not only is it really cool to see her fight back, including a really awesome scene or actually a really badass scene where she uses her disability as a benefit in an encounter with Chucky. It's also really good as far as evening the odds, because the whole thing with Chucky is that, you can't take him seriously, because at the end of the day, it's a doll with a knife. What is a doll with a knife gonna do? Even though after watching this movie, somebody needs to sit down and tell us the rules as this character goes. I mean, there are some instances where he actually shows a surprising amount of strength for a character that's shouldn't be that strong. There's literally one scene where he pushes Fiona so hard that she rams into another character and causes them to flip over. A surprising amount of strength. After this, I am starting to think that he still maintains his full strength as a human being, even though he's in the doll's body. But I digress. I also want to give a shout out. Going down this list, we're gonna pause one more time. Okay, back. Her name is Danielle Busuti, and she plays a character named Barb. Long story short, this character is essentially the character you want to see die. She is the most condescending and arrogant character that I've seen in a horror movie in some time. In fact, thinking back, I think Friday the 13th, Jason Lives that was the last time I hated a character, just for the simple fact that she was being a complete tool to the other characters. Especially Nika, her sister in this movie. Yeah, which she is so condescending and doesn't want to, and as awesome as it is for the main character to be handicapped, it's a little frustrating too, because there are quite a few times in the movie, like literally every other character treats her like she needs a handout, like she needs pity, or you're like, oh, you can't handle living on your own. And after a while, you're right there with Nika, just saying, fuck off. She was doing just fine until you showed up, but very condescending, and it's one of those characters you want to see die till you actually see it, and you start to feel like a jerk for even thinking that. But she does a fantastic job too. And of course, the voice of Chucky once again does an amazing job. Brad, that's the role he was born to play, and he continues to play it really well. As far as Chucky goes, let's go right into the new look. As far as Chucky, it has a tremendous, he looks even more scary than I remember him. He looks scarier, pardon my English. I love what they do with him. They do a lot with the eyes, which makes sense actually more in the film. You'll be surprised how much of this film is going to make sense by the time it's all said and done. They do a lot with the lighting. They do a lot. They're like, it got shots from down here. It makes him look even more sinister, and it really works. Special effects wise, they finally give him some much needed CG, but it's still not quite enough. They do actually a really good balance of both practical effects and CG. The CG I can only really remember in one scene, and that's when he's walking down some stairs, which is really needed. The rest of the time it's more practical effects. There's a guy actually in a Chucky suit to give the impression, so when he's running around the floor, and to give perspective. Other times it's still the doll, and there's some awkward scenes where you see him just like go down like that with a knife, and it just looks kind of bad actually in hindsight, but special effects work. Otherwise, Chucky comes alive fantastically, and the scenes do fantastic with psychology once again, because it's kind of goofy, the whole setup, as I mentioned before. So you're kind of wondering what's going to happen. When you're sort of going there with a laugh, but they do a good job of making you, building anticipation for Chucky to do anything. There are quite a few scenes where you see someone walk into a room, and the suspenseful music starts to play, and you're like, oh, here he comes. Oh, and then they'll find Chucky, and she'll be holding him, and they'll be like, oh, he's gonna do something, and nothing happens. Suspenseful music playing in the background, and by the time he finally does something, you're so it gets you. The movie does a fantastic job of getting you into it, and that's really admirable. I will deduct a few points, however. The first time he says something where he finally turns around and says something, you can barely hear it. The next instance of when Chucky does something is actually much more brutal and much more impactful. If I was them, I would have cut out the first part and just had that been the reveal for Chucky to finally do something. Also, I really enjoy how Chucky went about killing people. Now, usually in a slasher film or something like that, he's just going around willy-nilly killing people. However, with this one, Chucky actually plays it much smarter, in that all of the kills can be sort of bought as just happening. Like at the very beginning, the mother falls off. They thought that was an accident. The next character dies, also comes off as an unfortunate accident. And this just keeps following suit until finally Chucky just decides to go all for broke. But I enjoyed the stealthy kills that he does all throughout most of the movie. There are a few other things in the story that I want to talk about, but that would be revealing too much. This is one of those movies you really need to see it, because something happens that I wasn't expecting. and it just changes the viewpoint of the entire movie, especially the ending. The ending I wasn't expecting at all, because it's something you don't see in horror movies at all nowadays. And it really surprised me that they had the balls to do it, and it really made me enjoy it. By the way, little info for when you do go see it, wait till after the credits. There is one more awesome scene in that you really do want to see, which I have my own opinions on, but I have to keep that secret, because otherwise, that's gonna ruin it too. Let's see, looking in my little list here of stuff. Like I said, it was a fun watch. Had a good mix of both practical and CG effects. I do like the fact that they used the handicapped protagonist. And let's see, like I said, once you watch this movie from beginning to end, the story's gonna make total sense, and it really works in the universe of that character. So I really enjoyed it. As far as the Chucky film, I would have to say this is my favorite out of all of them, and is actually one of my favorite movies of watching it of recent memory. Let's see, little things. Once again, someone needs to hammer out Chucky's abilities. Because 1 minute, and he's as weak as a doll. The next minute, he's got superhuman strength. Someone needs to work on that. As much as I like the story, there are certain inconsistencies that make no sense to me. Like sorry, I keep hearing noises. That's the awful part about when you have to watch 5 horror movies in a row. Suddenly you start hearing things all over the place, and it doesn't help when you have 3 cats. But I digress. As much as I give the thumbs up on the story, there are a few things that made no sense. Like, one of the kills involved a electrical socket in the floor. Like, not on the side of the wall where you usually see them, but in the floor. I've never seen any house that has a socket in the floor. Please sound off in the comments below if you live in a house with a socket in the floor, because apparently it's quite dangerous. Going on, that also the sister treats Barb, the mean evil sister that you want to see die, treats Nika like garbage throughout the entire movie. And you're watching the interaction between the two characters, and I'm wondering, why would you invite this person over? Because she acts surprised, but in the way that Barb is acting, this is not something that suddenly would happen. Like, this is not like a change. There's no way she was this wonderful person, and no, she was a tool the entire time. Which begs the question, why, when you're in this huge level of grief, are you inviting this person over at a most terrible time? And even her family doesn't like her. It's why would you invite this person? But that's the only real problem I have with the story. It's something that happens all the times in horror movies and is never addressed. But this is someone you've known for decades, and you're shocked that she's being a jerk when chances are she's been a jerk her entire life. Also, quite a few of the characters are really dumb. And as I said a few reviews ago, this is usually thanks to the fact that if you want to get it set up for someone to die, someone needs to be dumb. But quite a few people in this movie are dumb and just jump to the most weirdest of conclusions that make you, once again, you've known these people. This is family. You've known these people. Why would you suddenly assume this person is this or that? But like I said, it's a horror movie. And as much as I've judged the other, you gotta keep in mind, it's not like Curse of Chucky is going to be up for an Academy Award or anything like that. But at the same time, it was fun. I enjoyed it, and there were some times I really got scared. In fact, the biggest jump scare that I've gotten out of all of these movies came thanks to Curse of Chucky, so kudos to that. Didn't have that lasting creepy feel that the Slender Man had yesterday, but at the same time, it worked really well. And as far as an overall rating, I'm looking back, replayability, yep, I'm gonna watch it again. It works really well. I enjoyed the story, the characters are great, and the sounds and work fantastically. go get it, buy it. In fact, I'm saying go buy it. It's that good. If you're, well, let me put an asterisk on this one. If you're a fan of Chucky, you already have this, so go buy it. If you're a fan of the classic horror movies, also go buy it. If you enjoy horror in general, you know what? Just buy it. Screw the asterisk. Just go get it. It's a fun time. You'll have a lot of fun. All right, folks, that does it for Halloween week here on the Geek Link. I hope you had a good time. We'll be back next week for another review. Till then, take care.